while he is no fleshy hero. Fleshy means that he isn't such kind of hero as you are used to watch in movies, that's very fleshy and glamorous and handsome and handsome kind of character and the like. He isn't such kind of a character or hero who is very fleshy. Fleshy means a glamorous kind of hero. No, not that. Or grand epic adventurer. And nor he is grand epic adventurer as you see in Paradise Lost or some other epics in Odyssey or Iliad or Aeneid. There's a very important characters so we see that he isn't such kind of fleshy hero. Robinson Crusoe displays character traits that have won him the approval of generations of readers. Their generations after generations have been appreciating that hero. There must be some traits that are quite impressive for those generation of readers of novels or fiction. His perseverance in spending months making a canoe and in practicing pottery making until he gets it right is praiseworthy. So these are his qualities, that if he is making some boat for him or if he is making some pottery utensils for him, that there must be some utensils for me for eating purposes, and he is making those small things there and the task that he never had done in his life, but now he is doing for the sake of survival. So all these things are praiseworthy and admirable. One can praise him so well because there's no other way, and one cannot ignore these qualities because these are very important qualities as far as his survival war is concerned, survival battle is concerned. So these are the things that are very petty in watching and seeing, but they are necessary for life. Additionally, his resourcefulness in building a home, how he produces resources for him to make a home, and a dairy. Dairy means, as you know, there's dairy milk and the things that are relevant to dairy, that are milk and yogurt and eggs like that. So they are called dairy. How he develops his own dairy farm, and grape arbor he develops for himself, or he grows grape arbor for him. You may say that a corner of grapes wines and a country house, a goat stable, and a corner for the goats as well. For practically nothing is clearly remarkable because there was nothing. He found nothing there on the island, but he produces all of these resources for himself. So these are appreciable qualities on his part. The Swiss philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau applauded, admired Crusoe's do-it-yourself independence. It was his independence quality. What is that quality? That is to do the things by himself, and it is known as do-it-yourself quality. So it's very important for every human being, do it yourself, because if you don't know this quality, it means that you are dependent on others and you are not independent, and that's one of the greatest sins in life, that you are dependent on someone else and you can't live by yourself. You don't know how to live your life. So it's just like a dependent child. So if you are a mature one, then you must know the qualities that would help you in independence and gaining independence in life, and that's very important. How to get job, how to earn money, how to make yourself, or how to equip yourself with good education, or the things like that that are necessary for an independent life. So Rousseau also applauded, admired Crusoe's do-it-yourself independence, and in his book on education, Emily, he recommends that children be taught to imitate Crusoe's hands-on approach. That's very important, hands-on approach, because Crusoe was there, and you may say that if Crusoe was there and he could do such things, so children should be taught likewise that you can do everything by yourself, and it's important on your part to do the things by yourself, and they will be very helpful in your youth. So they should imitate, copy Robinson Crusoe's actions, so that they would come to know the realities, hard realities of life, and they would come to know how to fight with those challenges, how to cope with those challenges. Crusoe's business instincts are just as considerable as his survival instinct. So we have read the survival instincts of Robinson Crusoe, that how he survived his life on an empty island, on a lonely island, but here we see that his business like approach is also good there. He manages to make a fortune in Brazil despite a 24-year absence, and even leave his island with a nice collection of gold. As we have read in the story that he had also developed a business there already, so when he returned there and he found that that was a well grown up garden there, and also there was a collection of gold for him as well. So we come to know that these are the qualities that he had in him, and that's very appreciable qualities that he had. So we see all the qualities here as far as his approach to life is concerned, that is really appreciable. Let's move to the next slide, and here we are here. So moreover, Crusoe is never interested in portraying himself as a hero in his own narration, and that's special to him, that he never portrays himself as a hero afterwards when he has written, or when he has a record of all those 24 years on that island, but he portrays the things that really happened to him. So he maintained that I wasn't a hero, I was a simple man, and how I created my own life there on that island. So those acts that he had written there, those were not like heroic ones, but very simple man of simple nature. So he does not boast of his courage in quelling the mutiny, and he is always ready to admit unheroic feelings of fear or panic. And he admits that I had feelings of fear and panic as well, of worry, of tension as well, when I was trying to yell out or to make a run. Persons who attacked me there, but I was afraid of those armies who attacked me, and he felt like fear or panic about those. As when he finds the footprint on the beach, he was afraid at the time. He feels scared at the time, but he wrote that in his diary. He didn't escape that feeling. He wrote that all in reality. Crusoe prefers to depict himself as an ordinary, sensible man, never as an exceptional hero. So we see here on the slide that he was a simple man, and he documented himself as a simple man, and he didn't write him as a heroic person like that. So we see that he wasn't a fleshy hero, as we have discussed in the slide. So that's the next slide. Here you can see, but Crusoe's admirable qualities must be weighed against the flaws in his character. So here we see that those are not the qualities that should be focused upon, but there were flaws as well in his personality. There were faults and there were shortcomings in his personality as well, and we know in literature has flaws. Crusoe seems incapable of deep feelings. So that's his first flaw, that as a human being he must have feelings in himself, but he was incapable of deep feelings. He didn't feel so much about other persons, about Friday, and about those cannibals and the persons he met on that island, nor about the captain, and nor about the ship that approached him and helped him. He was emotions free like that. So this was one thing that's important about his flaws. That was a flaw in his character, because he must feel the things that would make him happy or grieve, but he was a kind of bore person. He didn't feel like that to the depth of his, or the core of his heart. So as shown by his cold account of leaving his family, he made an account, he wrote down all these things, but his emotions are not there. His account is quite boring and quite normal. He didn't feel anything great about his children, about his wife, like that. His worry is about the religious consequence of disobeying his father. He disobeyed his father, but he never showed that it was a consequence of disobeying my father, that I am here on this island. It is a kind of punishment on me, and I am being punished for that act. He didn't write about that in so much depth. So we see here that there are no emotions at all, and it's his flaw in his character, and that's one of the most important traits of his personality. So let's see what is there in the next slide. On the next slide, let's move, and that's the next slide. Though he is generous toward people, no doubt he is generous towards people, as when he gives gifts to his sisters and the captain. So we see that he is generous. Crusoe reveals very little tender or sincere affection in his dealings with them. That's his flaw, another flaw, and that's number 3, I think, that we are reading here. That number 3, Crusoe reveals very little tender affection, tender loveliness or lovableness or sincere affection, love in his dealings with them. There is no love in those dealings. Those are dealings and not attachments. Just business deal or like that I have come again, I have returned, and that's fortune. I was alone at that island, and after 24 years it's due on me that I should present something to my sisters and the captain who saved me. And that's very normal kind of things that he did, and not with the great emotions that one should do, a human being can do after 24 years. When Crusoe tells us that he has gotten married and that his wife has died, all within the same sentence, he told it in one sentence, and there was no breath or there was no grief in telling all these things, but in a very simple way he told all these stories about the death of his wife. So that's the continuity of the same thing, that he wasn't so much interested in his family because he was an emotions free person. So that's another flaw, number 4. And indifference means that he has no concern or no love to her, seems almost cruel, and he was cruel to his family, it seems so, by his writing accounts. Moreover, as an individual personality, Crusoe is rather dull. So we see all through this that he was a dull person, he was a boring person. His precise and deadpan style, boring style of narration works well for recounting the process of canoe building, but it tends to drain the excitement from events that should be thrilling. And that's another flaw, that when he was recounting, reminding all these things in his diary, that I did so and did so, and I also made a canoe and boat for myself, but it tends to drain the excitement. There must be some kind of excitement in telling all these things, but we see that the reader also loses all this kind of excitement when he was telling all these things that should be thrilling enough. So that's number 5. We can give it number 5. That are the flaws that we have discussed up till now. Okay, let's move to the next slide, and that goes like this. Action-packed scenes like the conquest of the cannibals become quite humdrum. So the things that action-packed scenes like the conquest of cannibals become quite humdrum, boring, when Crusoe narrates them. How emotional these scenes should be, that I fought with the cannibals and I defeated them alone because I had arms with me, and I have weapons to defeat them. These should be very thrilling kind of activities and actions, but it didn't happen at that time. So we see that there is a detailed inventory list of the cannibals in list form, for example, but that is not thrilling. That does not impress us so much. His insistence on dating events makes sense to a point, but it ultimately ends up seeming obsessive and irrelevant when he tells us the date on which he grinds his tools but neglects to tell us the date of very important event like meeting Friday. I'm sorry that I have read so much in one breath, but let me clear that he is very concerned with dating events, that he wrote down the date of everything, and his mind is obsessed with the dates, full of dates, that I would write down the dates, when did it happen, when I defeated cannibals, and when I found this and that one. But he neglects to tell the date of very important event like meeting Friday. Friday was a person, he was a man, living man, but he missed the date that he must write on his diary, that when did he meet Friday, because there was another person and who was his great assistant and helper, who cooperated him so much in his daily task, but he forgot, or rather ignored or neglected Friday, meeting Friday, that what was the date when he met Friday. Perhaps his impulse to record facts carefully is not a survival skill, but an irritating sign of his neurosis. So there is another flaw. It seems that he was a neurotic kind of person, because he was recording so much facts and he was recording everything in his diary. So it seems that he was a neurotic kind of person. Finally, while not boasting of heroism, Crusoe is nonetheless very interested in possessions, and that's another flaw, and I must write it down. That is a great flaw, that he was so much interested in his possessions. That number 6, that he wanted to own so many things by himself, that I should have this, have this, have this. He was so much concerned about gathering things and power. He was interested in gaining power and prestige, that I must be honored by some other people and they must appreciate me, but not in a heroic style, but as a man wants everything that he is wanting there as well. When he first calls himself king of the island, and he says himself a king of island, so we see there is a wish of prestige. It seems jocund, it seems quite a ridiculous and funny thing. But when he describes the Spaniard as his subject, he says that they are my subject, they are my servants, these Spaniards, these cannibals. We must take his royal delusion seriously. So then we start thinking that it is his delusion, that his mind is boggled with these ideas and he is confused minded person, because there is no one, and he says that I am the master of those, since it seems he really does consider himself king, because he was thinking in himself that he was a king, but there was no one to be his subjects or masses. He's teaching Friday to call him master, and he taught Friday to ask him master, that I am your master. Even before teaching him the words for yes or no, he must teach him first of all yes or no, because while he was calling, or he used to call him so that he would answer yes or no, that if he couldn't do the things, then he should have said no. But he didn't teach him the words like yes or no, but he taught first of all the word master to Friday. Seems obnoxious, it is hateable thing, it is very ridiculous as well, even under the racist standard of the day, because there was a sense of racism as well, that I am a white man and you are not a white skinned person, so I am superior to you, to Friday, as if Crusoe needs to hear the ego boasting words spoken as soon as possible. It is why that he was interested in listening to such kind of words, that someone was calling him master like that. So these are his flaws that were persistently existing in his personality, and we see that he could not get rid of all these things except the things that he acquired there on the island. There were good things as well, but we see that there are bad things accordingly as well. So let's move to the next slide. I hope the points are clear on this slide, and that's the last slide that we'll be discussing about the heroism of Robinson Crusoe. Overall, Crusoe virtues tend to be private, so we see that his qualities or good qualities are individual ones, or that are relevant to him only. But as far as his faults are concerned, they belong to society or some other people. So his good qualities, his positive traits are private, that are relevant to him. His industry, for example, his hardworking, resourcefulness, that how he produces resources for himself, and solitary courage. And obviously he was a courageous man on the empty land there. There was nothing to enjoy with, make him an exemplary individual. So he was an exemplary individual, no doubt. But these qualities are quite personal and private. But his vices are social. But as far as his evils or bad qualities are concerned, that for in his personality, those are social ones that belong to society. And his urge to subjugate others is highly objectionable. He wants to subjugate or make his servants, that everyone who comes there should be his servant. He has such kind of thinking. So that is not a good quality, and that is objectionable. We can make an objection to that. In bringing both sides together into one complex character, Defoe gives a fascinating glimpse into the successes, failures, and contradictions of modern man. So we see that he is a combination of good and bad qualities of a modern man, that what a modern man has in himself, all the qualities are present in Robinson Crusoe as well. So dear students, hopefully you are done with, and you are very clear about the topics, and you are very clear about the topic Robinson Crusoe as a hero or as a leading character in the novel. So thank you so much, and stay happy.